Hey there folks, watch this video, and here I'm going to talk briefly about the French Grand Prix. The reason why I'm doing this on the Tuesday instead of the Sunday is because, well, I was otherwise preoccupied. On the Sunday I was actually commentating over the final parts of the Monster Energy Suzuka 24 Hours by BUSR and Sports Special Effect. And whilst I did manage to catch the start of the race, I did vaguely just tune out around the halfway point. I caught some of the action, but all in all I have to admit I wasn't as attentive to it as I have been for, say, previous rounds of the F1 season. But, well, what are my thoughts about the French Grand Prix? Well, firstly, I'm not surprised that we were able to have a kind of decent race. Like, Paul Ricard is a track that can breed decent racing, even if it is the high-tech test track and people like to complain about the rumble strips. Paul Ricard is actually one of those tracks that I really quite enjoy. But for me, I don't know if it was because I was otherwise preoccupied with a lot of other stuff and I hadn't slept for 24 hours at that point, but a lot of the main focus of the race was a bit mundane. Like, we didn't hear some of the stories like George Russell climbing up to 12th place, being the first car a lap down. That would have been awesome to hear, you know? Like, he outperformed Leclerc, he outperformed Ocon, he outperformed Tsunoda. It's a bit of a shame that we didn't really hear that kind of story. At the same time, like, McLaren 5th and 6th was brilliant news for them. Aston Martin 9th and 10th. It's not exactly ideal, but it's still a solid story for them to be able to have and something that they're able to build on in the future. I guess a lot of the big talking points have been around Verstappen and how Red Bull were able to undercut Mercedes. And I guess where a lot of my sort of nonchalantness for the Grand Prix comes from. Because Mercedes should have been able to respond. I mean, not exactly immediately, but yeah, they should have been able to respond. And when Verstappen had pulled the new boots, I was just like, well, Hungary 2019, we saw this before. Verstappen's won it. I mean, it's not just Hungary in 2019 where we've seen these kinds of things happening with a driver pitting onto an audacious two-stop strategy, turning it around for a win. But that's the one that always comes to mind, isn't it? Hungary 2019, where Lewis Hamilton went on a two-stop strategy, hunted down Verstappen, took him a couple laps to go and won. Like, at the same time, I have to say, what Bottas did was incredibly lackluster as well. And the fact that they switched chassis to the stuff that Lewis Hamilton had been racing, you know, that kind of proves the way that Bottas has been going this season. And I'm not one to be, like, overtly critical of a driver. Even though you see drivers go through all these kinds of slumps, I'm not like, oh, this driver should be out. I'm not calling for the head or anything like that. But he really underperformed. And I know that he was on completely different trials, a completely different strategy to the two Red Bulls, but at the end of the day, he shouldn't have been that easy to pass. I'm looking at this title battle and I'm seeing Red Bull running off from Mercedes. Bottas is in 5th in the standings, of course up one place from 6th, but he's still in 5th. Red Bull are 1st and 3rd. I don't think that this is necessarily a lost cause for Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton just yet. These next two races, Styria and Austria, could be a way for them to be able to recoup some losses. But even then, the Red Bull Ring's always been a kind of good hunter ground for, you know, Red Bull. Barring Mercedes, well, including the fact that Mercedes have had performance issues there before. They've had problems performing at high altitude tracks, and Red Bull haven't had those same kinds of issues. That said, who won the last two races of Red Bull Ring? Mercedes. And Red Bull was stuck with retirement Verstappen and Albon off in the grass and gravel, and him also retiring with mechanical issues. So, it is all to play for. I think this title battle is a lot closer than what we initially anticipated. And at this point, I do think that there's still the chance that Hamilton will take the title. I still think there's a chance Mercedes do the double. But it's looking more and more likely that even if Lewis picks up title number 8, the Red Bull walk away with the constructors. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.